All right, guys, episode 7, Growing Your Agency. Today, super excited. Today I have one of my friends. I've actually known Nate Bourne with my core. Nate can introduce himself. Before you do, just want to say I've known Nate for probably about 15 years now.
Like a
Seen him.
while.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Seen him go, into multiple businesses, succeed at most of them. And Nate, thanks so much, by the way, for being here.
It's good to be here, man. 15
Um,
years, that's half our life we've known each other.
we didn't need to go into the age thing, but that's fine. So tell everyone a little bit about your background. I think you obviously have an interesting story. How'd you get into business? And how'd you get into the current business that you're in?
Yeah, absolutely. To keep it short, I um, worked really hard in school because of what society teaches us. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job. And I grew up, big family, fourth of 9 children, and I grew up very poor. So I wanted to succeed and have a comfortable life. And I followed that path, and I did that through athletics, specifically wrestling, and through academics. So I found myself 20 years old, about a decade ago, exactly, at an Ivy League school. I was at UPenn. I was wrestling there, but I just realized something wasn't right. I wasn't charged. I didn't want to go to class. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to own my own business. So actually, I left Penn after starting with a company and doing well over my summer break, and decided at that point that I was going to essentially be an entrepreneur. And for 10 years, grinded it out. I worked with that one company for 7 years, and I did well. I mean, I made a living and, had essentially a close to a 6-figure income, and kind of teetered right around that 6-figure mark. But more importantly, I learned leadership. I learned how to market myself. I learned how to speak, train, develop. And I took those skills, what I kind of say, I got a doctorate in business and in leadership, got my 10,000 hours during those 7 years, and then launched my own company coming up on 3 years ago now. And it's really kind of the fundamentals that I learned from that business,
Yep.
and then applied it to a new industry.
Interesting. And that's what I'm starting to see from a lot of a lot of people that I talk to, especially agency owners, marketers, just entrepreneurs in general. It's like, they go and they get their MBA at their first job is kind of like how a lot of people are positioning it.
Mhm.
And then they're able to, and that's actually what I did as well. And then you can kind of like parlay that into your own thing later, right? And I
Yep.
think a lot of people who are listening who maybe want to do that, it's like, look, go heads down, learn as much as you can, at call it job number 1, gig number 1, and then let's go ahead and you're going to be able to use those skills for the rest of your life. So in job number 1, tell me, or the gig number 1, as much as you feel comfortable talking about, but like, what did you do? What were some of the tactical things you were able to do there to, recruit people, gain clients, be successful, retain? I think retention is a big thing in any business. And correct me if I'm wrong, that was a subscription business as well. So what were you
Mhm.
doing to, retain clients, gain clients, that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you understand this, Ryan, better than most, better than anyone I know, which is your network is your net worth.
Hmm.
And you can know everything in the world, but if you don't know anybody and nobody knows you, it doesn't really matter, right? The biggest threat to your business is obscurity, that people don't know who you are, and ultimately what you stand for. So you mentioned attract and retain. Now, in our business, being in the HR space, and really, speaking directly to the employee experience, that term gets thrown around a lot. Attract and retain. We talk about something we call attract and inspire. I don't know about you, and especially as an entrepreneur, I don't want to be retained anywhere. That sounds like jail or something. So it's really about, how do you attract people, but not just to stop by or to check you out or use you for 6 months or even a year, but how do you inspire them to engage in an experience that gets rooted in who they are, in the habits of their life and the community that they want to be a part of. So it's really that season of 7 years that I did a great deal of traveling across the country. I spoke. And I think what happened for me in that experience and that opportunity was that I was the young gun that was stepping into a 47-year-old company that didn't have very many young people, kind of new blood, fresh blood. And I did pretty well, and I did especially well coming out of the gate, hit it hard. And they wanted to share that, they wanted to show that. So I built a network, I built a skill set and a mindset, and have been able to turn that into an asset. So really it is about who you know, but it's about people becoming loyalists to you and to your movement and to the people that you surround yourself with.
Employee wise, or part of the internal team, or you're talking about customers from a customer standpoint?
Definitely both. Yeah, in our world, in the tech world, it's everything's UX UI. In our world, we talk EX, CX, right? What's the employee experience? What's the client experience? And that client experience, CX, is going to be in direct proportion to the EX. And as a founder and as an entrepreneur, your employee experience has to be awesome. Like if you're not having fun and you're not, literally like waking up charged, like I'm going to crush it today all day, someone's going to have to stop me from working today, then you're not going to attract people, because it doesn't matter how valuable your service is. It doesn't matter how more, competitive you are. If you're not creating an experience that people want to be a part of, and I don't mean foosball tables and, shots, bro. I mean a mission, a cause, and a development of people. So really that's what we focus on. And to answer your question, it's twofold. My 50 plus employees have to be charged and inspired every day, or the clients are going to realize, do I really need to change and innovate with this company? Because people are creatures of habit, and they've got to be inspired to try things new.
And sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, for sure.
I've also found that, that reminds me, I know myself personally, when you're talking about being inspired, but it's also kind of like as sales reps or a salesperson, which we're all in sales at the end of the day, right? It's like you have to, if you believe in something, it's so hard for someone, if you're incredibly passionate about it and you go to them and you are speaking with that passion, with that inspiration, for someone to not give you like a chance, like give it a shot, it's, when you can feel it, that's where I think companies succeed, and it starts to, you see this like amazing stuff happen, versus what you're saying on the other side of it. If you're not inspired, you're going through the motions, you're saying the pitch, you're going to the clients, you're doing this, and you're just like, meh. It's like, that's not it. That's not interesting. If you come to me right now and you're like, this is the best thing I've ever had, I use it, I'm getting the chills even saying it like that, but it's like, you can just feel that. And that's actually so important. I haven't heard anyone really talk about that recently, but it makes total sense. And I think a lot of people will talk about it in relation to just sales, but it's all over, right? It's all over the board.
Yeah, it's across the board, 100%. And it's rooted in biology. It's rooted in the biology of our brain. We have a guiding principle at my core that is in everything we do. We call it lead with who. And it's this concept that, look, in everything you do, the first and foremost and like ever important thing is to lead with who you are, and then attract people that align with who you are. The limbic system in our brain, the core of our brain, is the part of our brain that controls our emotions and our feelings. But what's really interesting about this part of our brain is it controls our decision making. It's not the neocortex, the outer part, that controls our logic. That's the part that controls our logic and our language. So we're speaking right now from our neocortex, but that's just logical. It's the feeling and empathy. That intangible, the empathy, the sympathy, all of it, the passion that goes, oh yeah, you know what? Like, I'm about that. I don't really know how to say how I feel it, because that part of my brain doesn't have the capacity for language, but I'm with you. So that's the thing. I think a lot of people get lost in the what's, man. They get lost in the
I think
neo.
that's why to be honest, not to my own, but I think that's why you're really successful, and I think that's also why I'm really
Oh,
successful.
of course,
Like,
it's why you're successful. Yeah, because
dude, it's
people
like
love you, Ryan. People
but
dig
it's
you,
not,
man.
and it's not even, yeah, but it's not, it's just, but it's that emotional, like, I feel like it's that emotional intelligence, that empathy, like, and you, right, and that passion. It's like you go around those kind of people, and they're just so about it. It's like they're not just, when I talk to people that are like incredibly smart, but they're like robots. It's
Yeah,
like
it's perfectly logical. It's uninspiring, but it's what you're saying makes total sense.
yeah, yeah.
But like I
I don't
get it.
follow you, but I get
Yeah,
it.
I'm not going anywhere with you, but I'll take some notes.
Um,
Yeah,
so,
yep,
so just
totally.
to take a step back, so tell us about the current business. 50 employees, you said. Tell us about the product, and we don't have to go too deep
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it,
for
but
sure.
just so we can kind of like talk about some of the stuff that you're doing to get to the stage that you're
Mhm.
at to be able to scale to 50 employees. 50 employees is super impressive.
Thank you, man. Yeah, totally. And know this as well. We're rocking and rolling. We're onboarding around 10. We're at about an average 7 to 10 clients a month right now. And I can log into our software, and every time I do it, our coordinator who manages all of this in the technology, it's like more and more companies are being added. I'm like, damn, this is blowing up. But it is for me a 9 to almost 10 year narrative, because I started in entrepreneurship at 20. So when people see companies that succeed and
Mm-hmm.
they're on the map, there's always a story behind that story. There's a long night for that overnight success, right? It was an all nighter when people start to see that, and we're far from where we want to be. We're
Mm-hmm.
just really getting started, but I think what most people don't realize, and what they may not be leaning on, is all the experiences and the network and the relationships and even the technologies. It can even be the specifics, the what's from their past. If you want to shoot a bow, for example, right,
Mm-hmm.
with an arrow, because a bow and an arrow by themselves, apart from one another, have no value, right? They can't hunt, you can't kill the enemy. And if you put the arrow on the bow, you have to pull back in order to get any value out of it. It's actually the going backwards that leads to going forward. So I think most people get into business, and it's good to be forward thinking, but they forget to pull back and go, wait a second, what did I learn as a teenager that I could glean from now as a young professional? Or what could I learn from gig one, job one, internship? Hated that class, hated that professor, hated that boss. But oh wait, maybe I learned something, or I could call that coworker up that was, a jerk, and get connected with him. So that's kind of the secret sauce, is that I'm constantly looking back,
Mm-hmm.
but in a forward thinking way, if that makes sense. And a lot of my relationships that are part of those 50 employees and some of those early sort of co-founders that were the
Sure.
core
Yeah.
of my core come from my past. So I would just encourage people to pull from that, because we live in a society now where everything's go, 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 and forward thinking and what's next. And, we got to pull from history.
Got it. So tell us a little bit about, so totally get it. Tell us a little bit about the product, just
Yeah, for
quickly,
sure.
just so then we can kind of go and
For sure. So the short of it is awesome. We become our clients' employee benefits department. So
got
the
it.
big void in HR is the benefits piece.
Yep.
There's companies you're familiar with them: Gusto, Zenefits, Namely,
Mm-hmm.
JustWorks, great companies, great platforms. They're technology companies. So ultimately they're saying, hey, look, we'll be your all-in-one solution. We'll
Yep.
do your benefits, your payroll, and your HR. Pay us, but do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So the big void that my core fills is that we provide the team, and it's a local team.
Full
So we have
service
5 experts. We do it right in your backyard, face to face. We put a custom strategy together, and we work in the technology with you. So now you're getting the full tech solution, but you're getting a full team, full time to lean on, and they're like literally right in your backyard. They're not in an office in San Francisco with a
Yep.
chat line or a call center.
Got it. Okay, awesome. So
Yep.
talk to us about how you're going out and getting clients. This is something, so product wise, a lot of people listening, maybe similar products, similar services, but so you do have a big service component. So I actually think that's going to be super applicable to a lot of people listening. A lot of people listening are going to be doing, maybe some digital marketing, maybe have some clients doing AdWords. You're doing some clients that you're doing, HR, packaging, using some tech. So it's actually very, very similar. How are you getting those clients? You said you're adding, 8 to 10 clients a month. I'm assuming that means you're adding like 8 to 10 companies that you're
Businesses, yeah.
or businesses, right? So how are you getting those guys, right? And also, how has that changed now that you're at 50 employees from in the beginning? It's gonna be a 3-part question. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
and just talk to me, I guess, about the channels, right? So
Yep.
talk what channels are working, what channels can you double down, triple down on? How does that go?
Definitely. And I don't know if you asked this, but I'll add it because when you get to these numbers, you got to have tools and systems and processes in place. I mean, this whole year has been a grind of building systems and processes and integrations. And I'm like a G Suite Jedi now, man. I mean, I know stuff that I never thought I would know. As a founder too, you got to learn it. So to answer your question, we actually provided our services, and I'm going to tie this in, at no cost for the first 100 clients. And we make our money on the insurance. We're now introducing a subscription model. When under 50 employees, it's $123 a month for the full MyCore experience. And you might be at 123. That's just
per
a cute
employee.
No, for the whole company.
Got it.
Yep. So the whole company, because we make it, well, another time I'll let you under the hood and let you know how we do that yet. But
no worries.
So 123 for the business itself. So the company spends $123 to get the whole MyCore experience.
Yep.
But why that number, to answer your question? So we drive a philosophy, the 1, 2, 3 and the 3, 2, 1. So over 50 employees is going to be $321 a month. Number one is warm market. So what we teach our people that are out pounding the pavement, working the business, getting those 10 clients a month right now across the enterprise is, who do you already know? Who do you know that owns a business? And people always think, I got to get to the decision maker. No, you don't. Who do you know that has a job that knows the decision maker?
Right.
And most of the time, if your solution is solving something for the whole business, then you can work your way upstream in that way.
That internal champion. I'm a big proponent of the internal champion and going bottoms up. Love it.
100%, right? Especially in our world, that's pretty easy because we're saying, hey, how would you like to have a better employee benefits program and experience and onboarding and all that stuff? Yep. So that's number one, warm market. Number two is networking. We do an insane amount of networking. And dude, networking is wide open, especially for younger people, because I go to these events, I've been at these events, and it's kind of an older school thing.
What's it? Talk to me about networking. I've personally, I don't like networking.
You would kill it, Ryan.
Networking. I don't even know how. Like, I don't even. So what does networking even mean? To be honest?
Essentially, there's an immense amount of groups that get together that are either local businesses through the chamber, BNI, which is Business Networking International. The easiest tool for this is Meetup. If you just go to meetup.com, there are meetups all in the city, all through your town, wherever you're.
Certain categories you're going at?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. So you're not going to like a networking meetup. You're going to a meetup for developers.
HR professionals or for realtors. Yeah, I mean, they're specific. And there's a great deal of just local ones that are, a smishmash of different people to connect with. In fact, MyCore exists because I met somebody at a networking event. A long story, but yeah, networking is where it's at. And the whole purpose, and number three, I'll just give you that, I'll tie it together, is walk your community. So we're saying, look, get out there in the community. Now, we know that at some point you're going to have to pick up the phone and make a call, but nobody wants to be cold called, right? So it's a lot easier to say, hey, I was in your business yesterday, I stopped by. And that's where the leading with who comes back in, because it's easy to go into business. Hey, look, I just want to stop by and let you know who I am, right? Why we exist, what we do. You're not asking for anything. You're just letting them know that you exist. Grab a business card and then call them and say, I was in your business yesterday, I stopped by, or hey, I'm thinking about stopping by tomorrow. If it's really in a community, and this is, I think what's happened is most people are an inch deep and a mile wide. And there's no need for that. You can be an inch wide and a mile deep. You don't need to have, just stay focused, work a vertical, work a space, work a town, You know, so 1, 2, 3 is where we get it. And then the 3, 2, 1 in our model, it's discovery meeting, strategy meeting, employee meeting. So we expect our people to have 3 discovery meetings a week, 2 strategy meetings a week, and 1 employee meeting a week where they're getting in front of the employee. So we drive that 3, 2, 1. So you're fishing from those 1, 2, 3s, right? That's your pond, that's your source, and then you're converting into the 3, 2, 1. No problem.
Got it. So that's also, I mean, it is, so networking, you're going in, you're getting, you're knowing the people, but regardless, I mean, you're still, I mean, this is all outbound. So it's all outbound. You're going in, whether you're
all outbound.
Hey, I was in your business, I met you at the event.
Ryan, we landed our first 50 clients without a website.
Yeah,
we didn't have a website.
And that's impressive. I hear, it's funny. And we do that too. We go outbound. Outbound's our biggest channel as well. I think so many people these days want the whole, I set up the site, my funnels,
yeah, they're lazy.
funnels, and they don't talk to anyone, and they just search, and they just
funnels, bro.
Bali, and they're just counting money and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Or the Bitcoin, they're counting the Bitcoin.
So work from anywhere, man.
But
my office
it's
for
funny.
the day.
I mean, this outbound works, right? These, going in, and I think this is the next thing I want to talk about is talk to me about so you go in, you get to you're not even a decision maker, you get to someone. What is the process? You said, strategy meetings, I'm curious about the funnel. So you go in, you get to them, are you presenting day one, or are you kind of lightly touching them with value first? Yeah. Funnel, and then second part of that question, I know all my questions are 2 and 3 part questions, but
I love it.
Second part is, what is conversion rate? What is conversion rate from very top of funnel to paid customer, and then also from demo to sale? I'm always curious about number of demos or meetings to sale.
Yeah, for sure. Well, here's what I'd suggest, and this is why I laugh at the funnel thing and funnel bra, is most people think top down, and a funnel is a vertical contraption. You got to think cyclical. You got to think circular. You got to think like an ecosystem, right? I mean, the universe will show you how to run your business. The same water that we drink today has been on the planet forever, and it has a cycle to it. So we build everything in circles. So we say, look, when you go into that first meeting, instead of thinking linear, how do we convert it from a discovery meeting in that they're here to discover who we are, and we're here to discover who they are. Like who are you? Do we jive? Do we have a good sense of humor, personality? Are we a match? And then why it's that we exist and why we're here. And then, oh, by the way, this is what we do. It's perfectly logical. It kicks ass. It's awesome. You're going to love it.
Yep.
So that first meeting you got to have the discipline to just exist with people in that first meeting. You're not, singing Kumbaya and holding hands, but you're not asking for anything. That's what's key. It's like a first date. You want to ask your first date to marry you? That'd be weird.
So crazy. I just talked about this. It's like you don't want to always have an agenda, right? You want to go in, and Gary Vee pitches this value, right? But it's you don't, and then it's you give them so much value, then boom, you come with a jab later, which is the ask. But I 100% agree with this. It's you don't want to go be so agenda driven where you're going and it's first meeting, hey, can I take over your benefits and insurance? And that's a big ask.
Yeah, it's a big ask. And it's ultimately, especially in our world, because we're saying, hey, we're going to be your employee benefits department. We're going to be entrenched, ingrained in a part of your business. It's like we're down the hall. It's like you hired us to work at your company. Would you hire us? We're a candidate. But it's also flipped because we're interviewing our clients. This is where people don't get it. If you're looking for people that need what you provide, you're missing the whole point. You need to be looking for people that align with who you are, because the only way you're ever going to tip, the only way you're ever going to blow up is if you have raving fans, people that are diehards. And if they don't jive with who you are, they're not ride or die. Yep. Then it's too loose. You don't get the bond that's required to build that core of whether it's clients, whether it's, your first round of employees.
Yep.
So yeah, 100%, man, you've got to have a different approach. And I think especially now, because we live in a time where people know that they can get whatever they want at any time in the.
You want to be a partner, not a vendor. I used to say that, yes. Right? It's vendor. Everything's so commoditized these days. That's why it's brand relationships are so important. And again, insurance, especially like in the insurance
Oh,
world,
yeah.
like all this stuff. I mean, this is so commoditized these days, but it's like, and what I always say is, if there is there a hiccup and they have no relationship where they'll drop you like a fly, go to the next thing. But like, if you have to like call Nathan up and tell Nathan that you're ending your relationship with him, that's like a lot harder of a conversation,
Yeah.
especially if you guys, had some beers, whatever.
Right.
Your kids hang out at the park every Sunday, and like, now your kids can't be friends anymore, and it's like,
Yeah.
you're gonna
Like,
give
hey,
that up because,
because we
because
dropped the
whatever.
ball. Yeah,
Yeah,
on the wrong
we'll
thing.
pick it up.
100%, man. Exactly. You're absolutely right. And I think another piece that people I think fail to consider when it comes to conversion is ultimately you're getting to a presentation. There's going to be a moment in this experience where you're presenting who you are and why you exist and what you do. And so many people spend such an emphasis on, where do I find the people and what's my script and how do I schedule the demo? How do I schedule the appointment? In our team and at our company, we actually have a different philosophy where we say, look, I know that if I develop these people to give kick-ass presentations that they're going to rock the discovery meeting, then getting it isn't hard because they're just chomping at the bit. They're like, coach, let me in, man.
Put me in.
Put me in. And it's just like dating, right? Like if you said to us, how do you get that first appointment? Well, how do you get a date? I know I'm going to do really well on a date, so it's not hard for me to ask, right? Like if you weren't confident in your competence on the date,
Yep.
then you're never going to have the confidence to ask in the first place. You're gonna be like, I don't even know what I would do if I went, if she said yes, he said yes, whatever it is. So I think that's the key, is that people aren't considering let me put it this way. People think that they're afraid of failure. They're not. They're afraid of success. They're actually afraid of what would happen if the client says, yeah, let's do it. Oh shoot, I didn't really know.
Because they're not ready. They're not prepared.
They're not ready. They're not prepared.
They don't have the confidence. Interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've recently been reading about and thinking a lot about this thing called earned confidence, where you're confident because you've already proven to yourself and others that you can do it, and you can do it deep down. I think there's a lot of people who have this like false sense of confidence, like maybe they're kind of boosted by others, but they don't like truly believe maybe they don't believe in the product. If they're in sales, they don't believe in themselves and their close rate. But once you start to close or whatever you're doing, right, and you gain it's that earned confidence. I think that's the most powerful thing, right? Because confidence is gonna take you to the next level. So talk to me about close rates.
Sure.
And also always a two-part question. Close rates, and then also like quotas, like what are you holding reps accountable for? Close rate, it doesn't have to be exact numbers.
Yeah, for sure. Well, here's another example where just a way to challenge sort of conventional wisdom without being cute, and there's this fine line today in business where everyone wants to be cute. They want to have these unique titles, and I'm not the CEO, I'm the chief, friend, visionary officer. Shut up. Then clearly you don't know how to execute, because I'm the CEO of my company. You know what I mean? And I execute on stuff.
Yeah,
I build. Yeah, I'm CEO bitch, exactly, like in Facebook. So anyway, I say that but at the risk of sounding cute, we see it as the opposite of closing. Most people are thinking that way, right? I got to close this deal. No, you need to open the deal. Like when that person subscribes, when that person signs up, when that person says yes, that's the beginning. That's the opening of the relationship, right? So I think where our conversions are coming from is that we're training a 3-step process, and you've got to know that success is a process, not an event. And in wrestling, my background, every wrestling move, if you were to watch me, I know you came to some of my wrestling matches, it looked like I did one thing, but it had a setup, an execute, and a finish to all of it. It's set up, execute, finish, set up, execute, finish. So the way those 3 meetings are is one's a setup, one's an execution, and one's the finish. So when you chunk it that way and you think, okay, I can do this because now I only have to win the setup. I don't have to win the whole thing, because that's a lot. I don't know if I'm ready for that. And I lean on my wrestling career a lot. You know, when I wrestled and I attacked somebody's leg, to be specific, it was my entire body versus their one leg, not me versus them. So I never looked at the other wrestler as against me versus all of him. It was, how do I get all of me versus his arm, his leg, his back, you know, whatever. This conversation sounding kind of weird now when I put it in those sort of physical terms. But that's where the conversions come from. So to be specific, we use Pipedrive for our CRM.
Yep.
And although we are cyclical and circular in our thinking, we've got to slice in and splice in some linear thinking, because you've got to convert. You know, at the end of the day, you got to pay the bills, the lights got to stay on,
Yep.
you got to move them through. So I love Pipedrive because it has that left to right mindset. So literally, this is how it works. It's very simple. It's our client experience is the pipeline, and it says prospects, and then it says DM, SM, EM, and there's a fourth meeting that's known as the TM. It's the training meeting. And this is an important part, because people don't go back and train their clients. They're like, why aren't we scaling? Why can't we grow? Because you didn't train your clients on how to utilize you. And now you don't have leverage. You don't have systems and processes, because they're calling you, or they're not engaging, and then they're just dropping you. Then they become a client. So I think what happens is people think when the sale's made, that person's a client. I would build in some setup, execute, and finish into that process. And then we view it and we just say, hey, why aren't these 10 prospects moving to DMs? Why aren't these 5 DMs moving to SMs? And we just boom, 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 move it along in that way.
What is SM? So DM decision maker.
DM is discovery meeting.
Discovery meeting. Okay.
Yep. And that's important, because it's back to what we said, right? People go, oh yeah, the DM, the decision making meter, decision meeting or decision maker meeting. No, actually it's not, because that says that you're going in there expecting a decision. If I go on a date or I go to hang out with my friend, there's no decision, right? If I go to New York, all right, let's hang out. Hey, Ryan, I'm gonna need you to make a decision about our future. No, I'm just hanging out with you. You know what I mean? So that's the discovery meeting, then strategy meeting, then employee meeting, then training meeting.
So where does the sale come in?
Perfect. So the decision is made from SM to EM. So there's two meetings.
Strategy goes for the close, then it's training.
Yeah. So let me put it this way, right? It's number one is the DM. That's the discovery meeting.
Yep.
In our world, we gather some information. We got the census. We find out what their current plan design is. Yep. Then we do the strategy meeting. So we talk about what this really is going to mean in their life. Yep. And then they make a decision. From that decision is when the sale is made.
Sure.
And then we go and get.
Then you move to onboarding, implementation, training.
Exactly. Yep.
Which then helps with kind of what I was talking about earlier. Helps clients, and I know you position it differently in terms of language, but it helps them retain. They actually are using it.
Yes, 100%.
Training their people. Maybe they expand referrals, things like that.
There's something, Ryan, that I guess I made this. I mean, all this stuff is regurgitated, right? But I call it the ROTX, ROTX. It stands for recruiting, onboarding, and training. Mm-hmm. And that sounds like a HR. Yeah, you got to recruit your candidates. You got to onboard them. You got to train them. No, you got to recruit your clients. Mm-hmm. You got to onboard your clients, and you got to train your clients. And the X is that experience. It's got to be a recruiting experience. Nowadays, people don't buy things just because they need it. I want to have an experience when I come to Starbucks. Like, I don't just want coffee, so I think that's what most people aren't putting the creative energy, and you got to consider that. What is the experience like? And that's in our model, it's set up that way, where they're coming out of that first meeting going, well, that was different. I don't think they even asked for anything. Okay, cool. And then by the time we're on the second date, they're like, yeah, what's up? Let's do this. I'm glad I swept right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then I can make some more other conversion analogies. We don't need to go there at
that was
this
them.
So love it. That's awesome. I love actually the process. And by the way, so even a lot of our clients are digital marketing agencies, and it's funny because typically their first discovery meeting, what they're doing is they're actually going into someone's like Google AdWords account. They're usually looking at their account and seeing like how bad it is. Typically is like the first thing, and then their strategy meeting is like, all right, here's your current account. looks like we can work together. There's search volume there. There's people there. It sounds like it makes sense. Here's our here's what we can do together. Here's what I can do for you. But I think like, the positioning of it should always be, and this kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier. You were saying the why. What are the clients getting from this? They're not just getting this feature. They're like getting something that's going to massively benefit them, and the experience of it's going to be good. And I think, our clients can then pitch to their client, like the agencies, the marketing agencies can pitch like, we're going to help you grow your business. You're going to be able to do more jobs during the day. You're going to be able to go home to your family. And like, that's more of like the benefit versus we're going to underwrite 3 policies for you. It's not interesting, but it's like,
and even deeper to unearth it a step further, right? Because the what is absolutely something you can find somewhere else. The why you can probably find somewhere else too. But people ask us this often, well, why should we choose you over our current broker or over our current solution? And I train our team to tell them point blank, because if you don't choose me, you don't get me.
Yeah.
That's it's the who. It's hey, look, there's a bunch of other ad agencies out there, but you realize you don't get us. You don't get me. Exactly. And if you have that confidence, not arrogance, but confidence, then people go, oh shoot, yeah, you're right. And you inspire them to go, well, is that not true for your clients?
Yep.
I'm assuming that like your clients chose you, right? Not just what you guys do.
Yep.
That's the key, man, is you've got to tap into that why, but you've got to go even deeper and say, hey, look, you're going to get me and my team. And I know what's out there. You're not going to find anyone better than us.
Yeah. That's the approach I take. That's why I'm doing these podcasts at 9:00 at night, it's like, right. You're going to, it's like, look, this is who you're going to be working with. And I think just also the transparency, being a human, again, going back to like, I'm not just some random software vendor, or you're not just some random HR, provider, like dime a dozen, right? But it's like, look, this is who I am. I have a family. I am a human being. Like, I live in wherever I live, so.
And it's so easy to tie it into relationships.
Yeah.
And, as a man with 3 children,
congrats.
Like, thank you, man. My little one has chickenpox right now, which is no fun. But so think about marriage. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't like get married because of your why. You'd get married because of the who. You wouldn't be like, well, my whole life I've wanted to be married and it's been a mission of mine, so you'll do.
Yeah.
like that's not a good reason to get married.
It's like, I was just looking for like companionship. I love watching TV with other people. It's like, I'm just going to swap out the person with like the next cheapest solution.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, oh no, you're marrying me because like I'm the best person out of the other 8 billion and you're the best person out of the other 8 billion. So let's do this. So it's no different in business. You've got to approach that the same way to say, hey, look, this isn't a marriage. You're not permanently with us, but you should highly consider, forget the why. You already have the why. It's the who. Like you and me, baby.
This is good. I hope the listeners and viewers are getting, I'm getting a lot of, I don't even need to publish this because I'm getting enough value out of this. This is great. All right. So wrapping it up, just want to, so talk to me about tools you're using with the clients. You said you're using Pipedrive. What are you using with your employees, clients? Talk to us about that.
For sure. Well, as I'm on the phone with you, Slack is blowing up, and I don't think that's new to most people, but it is new in the space that we're in because it's antiquated and there's a great deal of just emails that fly back and forth. So the ability to collaborate in a focused way is important. We also just recently have introduced, and this is a big commitment, OKRs. Ryan, are you familiar with OKRs?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're quite a commitment to especially, 50, and I think we're onboarding another 10 right now, employees. So to get those objectives and key results. Yeah. Measure what matters.
Yes. By
Yep. John Doria.
Yeah.
So we're actually looking at tools right now from a product or app or SaaS standpoint for that. But our main tools, we call them our executive tools. In fact, we actually call all of our employees executives. So the idea is, look, you should be acting as if you're an executive.
Yep.
And that's really a mission of ours is to redefine the employer and employee relationship, that it should be a partnership. It should be that an employer, if you're an employer, it's a high calling. It's a big deal. You're one of the 5%ers, and you're creating a space where people can come in and thrive. and you're there to serve them every day, all day. So to answer your question, with tools, we're always looking at the best executive tools, and we have Pipedrive, G Suite, Slack. And I think a lot of people are paying for these products, but they're not putting an emphasis on them. So when our employees are onboarded, I have assigned to that employee an admin executive who walks them through a number of things, but they literally sit with them and go through every executive tool to make sure that they understand the value of their business cards. They understand the value of the HR software. They understand the value, because one, we're paying for it. Stuff's not that cheap, as you add more and more people. But I think a lot of times it just gets thrown over there on the shelf, and people aren't working in depth with what they currently have. It's not about resources. It's about being resourceful. And most people that are listening to this right now already have $100 million company. They already have $1 billion company, but they're just not digging deep enough. They're trying to go search out here and to hope it falls out of the sky. So we just make a big deal out of everything at MyCore, and particularly the tools. And here's what it comes down to. We call it tools and events. Every business on the planet has to have great tools, and they've got to get people together, and not just for the Christmas party once a year. How many times a week, a day are you talking to your people like a human being, who to who? And then are you leveraging tools? So you go back and forth. Great tools, awesome events. Powerful tools, impactful events. And an event is where any two people are together. This is an event, and we're using a tool, Zoom and Apple and iPhone and those really cool headsets you got on.
Yeah, it's Corsair. Link in bio. Awesome, man. So this was super good. I got a ton of value out of it. We're gonna just ask you a couple questions at the end. If you were someone that's looking to break out, I know you said you were at Penn, you were doing this job in the summer, you broke out on your own. What would you do? What would be the first thing that you would do that would get you to leave that job of yours, to break out on your own? Where do we start?
For sure. Twofold. I'll take your one question and answer it with two, like you did with the others. Just this, you have to work harder on yourself than you do on your business. If you're putting in 5 hours to your business, put 20 hours into yourself. Like, you are the deal. And it doesn't mean that you build everything dependent on you. I have a executive team that has shielded me up in a way that I know. And this wasn't true 6 months ago, and it'd be touchy today. But if I died, the show goes on, and you got to take inventory of that and say, how much of my income and how much of my business is dependent on me? Because if you're your only asset, what happens when your asset doesn't work, right? You don't get paid. So you got to work harder on yourself, but all for the purpose of developing others. So you don't do it so that you can be so great and that you can get all the attention. It's, how do I become a servant? And that's the deal. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you've got to be a servant. Straight up.
Self-learning, like tactical.
Yeah, just personal development. We call it people development, PPL. Personal development, professional development, leadership development. You've got to just get better and better and better and better and better every day. I mean, look, how many free throws did Michael Jordan take? Right? I mean, how many times do these professional athletes practice, and then we as entrepreneurs think that we can just kick it in our co-working space 9 to 5? It's like, dude, no, you've got to be on the grind. So work harder on yourself. And then lead with who? Not just, I love people and I care about people, meaning all your thoughts, your dominant thoughts should be, who do I need to meet? Who do I need to be? Who do I need to impact? Who is my company touching? Who are my people? Who are my raving fans? Who? And you've got to fight against the what's. Get the what's done. Do that shit at night. On prime time, you should be talking to people. And that's why you're killing it, Ryan, because you recognize you could be coding right now, but you're connecting, you're growing, you're challenging yourself, stretching yourself, and you're putting yourself out there. You said something earlier, and I'll end with this, man. Get me all fired up. Just to maybe put words to it. There's a huge difference between faking it till you make it and acting as if. When you fake it till you make it, it's bullshit, right? But acting as if is a mindset. It's something that you know that you are that person and that you're deserving of that success. The only thing that hasn't caught up yet is the time. But time is an illusion. So who you are today, like we've known each other for 15 years, right? So we go back 15 years, it's not much different. It's the same thing, even though, I mean, it's the same shit, different day. So who are you in your mind 5 years from now? Be that person today, and don't worry about the reality of what car you drive, how much money's in your bank account, how much influence you do or do not have. Then every decision you'll make will come from that position of I'm already a billionaire. There's huge power in the words I am. I am a game changer. I have made a dent on the planet. So that's the deal, man. Act as if.
Wow. Yep. That's some powerful stuff. Nate Bourne, founder, CEO, My Core Benefits. Nate, thank you so much for joining us today. Guys, that was episode 7, Growing Your Agency with Nate Bourne.
Good stuff, man. Love you, bro.
Thanks.